and welcome to another episode of Industry Celebrities. My name is Kimberly Scott. Professionals in any industry, and ask them questions about their industry and or their passions. Plus, they share a little advice to their younger self. If you want to tune into other episodes, you can do so by going to thatkimberly.com/combo to choose which platform you prefer to listen to this podcast, either iTunes, Spotify, Google, YouTube, and several others, but you get to pick. And now that we have that out of the way, I'd love to introduce today's guest, my dear friend, Joe Melton. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful, Kimberly. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
All those years ago, who would have known that we'd be doing a podcast together?
Absolutely. I know we've known each other for many years.
And podcast was not on that list of to-dos.
No, not at all.
Well, tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and what industry you're in.
Sure, absolutely. So we've known each other for 15 years, and I have been in the multifamily industry for this year, my 20th year. So
you started when you were 15?
When I was 12 and a half, thank you very much. I started in 98 with a company that I grew up in and got kind of my wings in the industry with Camden Property Trust. And I tell everybody I admit to still bleed a little green, but, started as a leasing agent and came to the industry just as an actor, musical theater major, just someone who wanted kind of a little bit more steady paycheck and had an opportunity to kind of be in front of people, front of house, customer service, and thought that would serve me until the next gig. And 20 years later, here I sit.
You're still there.
I am. So recently celebrated a 4-year anniversary with the Morgan Group located here in Houston, Texas.
Congratulations.
Came on board. Thank you. Came on board in a role created to kind of in-house the control of marketing and branding efforts as they started their Pearl brand. As a digital media and marketing manager last February, I was given an opportunity to move into a little bit more of a support control role. So currently the Vice President of Marketing and Management Support Services, officially the longest title in the industry, I think. Crazy. But really what that is the marketing creative side. And just so you know, the Morgan Group is, I always say, dirt to dollars. So we have a construction company, development team. We acquire land. We work with strategic partners. We call it friends and family. And then, of course, a management and operating side. So I work through all that and then also run a team that supports all of our on-site teams and any process that we do.
Wow. Well, you have come a long way from being a leasing agent. And so kudos for you for sticking to it and growing in your path that you didn't. I always like to tell people it was the accident that stayed around. You continued on. When you get into the apartment business, you never get out.
Absolutely. And you know what? It wasn't a straight path or a direct route here, that's for sure. And I would tell anybody that, I definitely lost my way a few times, but here we are 2018 with Waze and I'm back, on the direct route. So
well, congratulations for your long tenure.
You.
And I know that's really exciting. What would you say that you enjoy the most about what you do?
Oh, I would say I don't think I've ever worked harder. I really enjoy the industry, and there's parts of what we do every day in the multifamily space that I wish I could do full time. If I could show up and lease apartments all day long, I'd probably do that. I love interacting with people.
Wow.
Well, it's funny because, I think that I grew up in a time where we didn't have all this technology and these tools. And, I see kind of, the new green beans out in the world there that end up being incredible leasing consultants and assistant managers struggle with all we have today. And I think, my gosh, we had a piece of paper, a pencil, and an abacus, and we made it happen.
Yeah.
And so I've always just really loved that part of it. But I also know that part of this industry is moving into roles where you can do what I had, which is mentor and support people. And it's an important part of being successful and growing rents and growing opportunity for your strategic partners and your company. So, but I always love selling and kind of being the face of that community and, creating that value for each of those projects.
customer service and that day to day, no day ever being the same is definitely exciting about the apartment industry for sure. What would you tell somebody that wanted to get into the apartment industry?
Yeah, so I think that, we get this all the time where, what do I need to have? Do I need to have my real estate license? Do I have to have had experience to work with you? I think that it really runs the gamut of what a company needs and what kind of their growth is. And so we're at a point right now, we've made acquisitions and new management this year that were not anticipated, to the point where we were so happy to promote within everybody we could. And it was a great year of really showing kind of the internal promotion that we offer here at the Morgan Group. But I think right now we had a moment where, okay, let's continue to backfill these places and these opportunities with people who kind of know the business, right?
Hmm.
And let's give ourselves some breathing room for kind of the training ground, right? But I think I would tell somebody who wanted to be in the business that, understand what you're getting into. We're not selling something that's going out of style, right?
Yeah,
Tomorrow it's not going to be uncool, or you don't need to have a place to live. So you will be gainfully employed as long as
always.
you care and work hard, right?
Yeah.
So I think people just really have to love what they do. And if they're just showing up, checking the clock, or looking for the next $1.50, $1.50 an hour opportunity in the same role, then, that happens and that's great. But I think, I learned a long time ago, I think that what they think they want is promotion. Like,
Yeah.
I get in the industry to be promoted, right? And I think that that's part of it, right? And it definitely is. It has been for me kind of organically, right? But I think that if I look back and really think what I thought promotion was, I think it was really project. Did you want a promotion or did you want a project? Did you want
Mhm.
something to work on and kind of hone your skills and create proficiencies and show your
Mhm.
value and learn, right?
Yeah.
And so I think if you want an opportunity in a career, and I wouldn't have said it was even a career 20 years ago, then this is a great lane for you. I just think that, you be patient and understand that it's not always about promotion, because sometimes the steps on the way up the ladder are not fun.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Kimberly, the one position that you don't want me in ever in the company and is assistant manager role. I was not made to be the bookkeeper of a property. That's not where I thrive. That's not where I create value. And if it's a step on the way, great. Then you just put your head down, focus, get it done, and create that next opportunity for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So many management companies do promote within, and I feel like the people that I've met in this industry, like a lot of the people that are vice presidents of marketing, like you, to the CEO, to the senior V, whatever it is, they were all a property manager, even porter, leasing staff, like you name it. And in 15 years, they've all been promoted. If not within their own company, they were, recruited by another company. So the apartment industry is a great place, if you're seeking growth. I always tell people, once you get in, you're not going to get out, whether you
Right.
accidentally found it or you found it on purpose. So
I think you always will touch it in some way. And I think that, you and I both know lots of people that have left our side to go on the vendor side, or
supplier partner.
yeah, to be a supply. Oh, yes, a supplier partner, and they've left to kind of do some of their sales position, and and then they've come back into the space because it's what they know best, and it is, as you say, a career for many people. But I think 90% of the people that have made this their career would tell you that was not the intention.
Yeah. This is very true. Everybody that I talked to, it was an accident, but a good one that they now have lifelong industry friends, relationships, things that have definitely helped them both professionally and personally. So I can vouch for that for sure. So my one standing question for this podcast, because I try to make it short and sweet, I like to ask what you would tell your younger self.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's funny because I think that I heard someone say this recently, and it rang so true to me. And they made the comment that, we grew up, I think you and I both grew up in a time where we were encouraged and groomed to somewhere down the line work hard and find that work-life balance, because that work-life balance is really what allows you to enjoy your work and then also appreciate your time off. And there's nothing more valuable than time,
Yeah.
but everybody has the same amount of it. And so I had this moment where somebody said, but today, the industry that you work in, the people that are your largest force of employees, boots on the ground, the millennials that are actually understanding our renter, the consumer, our prospect, they weren't raised in a time where work-life balance was the message because to them, everything's just life.
Yeah.
And I thought, gosh, it's so weird because it's not the frame of mind I live in. And I find myself many times looking at product and making decisions for what we build and what we use for finishes and reminding myself, as I didn't do 20 years ago, you're not the demographic,
Hmm.
so be educated of what this product is. And so I think it was just a really good lesson for me in understanding what it is. So if I had to tell my younger self one thing, I would just say, continue to understand your job right now. Don't ever, devalue the power of continued education. And even though you don't want to go and log on to a training course for an hour or go to the corporate office and sit through Leasing 101 for another time, you know, you're always going to learn something.
Yeah.
And the power of just giving yourself the gift of training and knowledge is so important. And it's not something I valued or had on my top 5 care list
Yeah.
20 years ago, but I got there quick enough and it probably saved me. And I think that the idea that I'm always willing to learn
Hmm.
has served me so well, and it sounds so simple, but if you think about what you do in your own environment and think, okay, if I just sit back and listen, it's hard to do, and just always be willing to learn, it's amazing. You'll wake up and think, well, thank goodness I just did that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's so easy right now to, either listen to a book online or watch a YouTube video, or LinkedIn always has great tutorials on just about everything. So, continuing education can come in an easy form if people just look for it. So that's great advice that I too was
Yeah.
like, I'm done with college, I'm done with learning, I don't ever want to think about that again. And you evolved, you constantly learned anyways. We just didn't know it was happening. But I think taking more
Yeah.
of a proactive approach to it now.
Well, and enjoying that moment.
Yeah.
There's I don't know if it's a poem or some kind of writing that I read one time where it talks about somebody just through the stages of life and how, like, when you're a baby, you can't wait to be a big boy or a big girl. And when you graduate high school, you can't wait to get out of college, can't wait to get married. And it's just all the different kind of milestones of your life. And it's always like we're rushing, and you get to old age and you're like, I was always so worried about, let's get to the next point. Did I really sit back and enjoy every single stage, right?
Yeah.
Because some of it's not fun. And
Hmm.
so I try to do that now, and I try to learn something every day and allow myself to say I could have done that better. That's a hard thing to do. But, at the end of the day, you got to look at yourself in the mirror,
Yeah.
you know, and say, well,
This is true.
it's you, man. It's on you. So,
Well, that is great advice, and I definitely agree that you can't go backwards, so you might as well move forward, but continue learning while you do it. So, great advice. So, my last question for you would be, what is in Morgan's future as it relates to your awesome Pearl brand?
great. Kim, I'm glad you asked me that because it's exciting. 4 years ago when I came here and kind of the brand started, we were really trying to wrap ourselves around kind of what the culture and the key values were of the company. And, the brand is really incredible, pretty powerful now. And, our tagline is to live well. And I think that it doesn't matter who you are, what industry you're in, if you read live well, I mean, it'll resonate somehow with you, right?
Yeah.
So I think with that in mind, Philip Morgan, third generation Morgan, is now kind of moving into the role where eventually he will ultimately lead the efforts of this incredible company started over 50 years, actually next year, our 60th anniversary.
Wow.
So our idea is that we want to see what happens in terms of growth and actively not engage, but entertain opportunities that maybe we wouldn't have done so a few years ago. And would it be a fee management opportunity through a friend and family, additional strategic partnerships, lots of stuff happening. Really excited about early summer. I'm going to say late May if we don't get rain in Houston, right? So we are doing 264 units over an incredible 40,000 square foot Whole Foods in Houston, Texas, Midtown area. There's
Mhm.
not been a grocery store in Midtown since 1998. And
Wow.
so we're really proud of that. And so morgangroup.com is a great place to find all the kind of future opportunities that we'll be delivering to our space. It's also a great place to find where we have career opportunities, both corporate and on site. And it's a great place to also read about our culture and our story. I think it is kind of a really telltale reason why we do what we do and why we care so much. And it's all about the people. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. And I do want to give you a little kudos because I know that you were very instrumental in building that Pearl brand and the messaging. So great job to you, my friend. I know you worked really hard at that. And I can definitely see it in your team and how everybody has that same mantra that the Morgans have, grown up and why they are a 60-year-old company. So congratulations to y'all. Great job. Not
Thank
many
you.
companies can say they've been around that long.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
So,
great.
well, I want to thank you again for being on my podcast, Industry Celebrities, and thank the listeners. And remember and tell everybody out there that's listening to subscribe to the YouTube channel, listening on iTunes, Anchor, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, all those great places, LinkedIn. And until next week, stay positive and keep growing. And thank you again, Joe, for being on.
Awesome. Thanks, Kimberly. Have a great day.